That's better, isn't it? Right. Today, according to my phone and my diary and everything else, is the 11th of July. Hasn't really felt like it until now. Got a little bit of sunshine, a little bit of late evening. Yeah. As some of you will know, I've been having a bit of a sort of like a rough time recently. What with the power surge that we had, which has blown about 1,500 quid's worth of doesn't matter anyway, and being dragged back into doing policy stuff with the NHS, PHE, all that sort of bollocks. And then I thought today I was going to have a bit of a sort of like a nice lazy day. So what I did was I started going through old backups to try and free some space for some from some backup servers. And I found a load of videos that I'd forgotten that I made. So I'm going to play you a video now that I made in July 2016. And it was just after the referendum, the Brexit referendum. Now, I'm not going to make any judgments, because that's not my thing, about how you voted. If you voted leave, okay, fine. If you voted remain, fine. What I would do, though, is just have a little bit of a history lesson, because running up to that election, do you remember there was a big red bus and it said, we give all this money to Europe, let's give £350 million a week to the NHS instead. And running up to that vote, there was a concerted effort to discredit the NHS and to make the NHS look like shit. That was just the way it was. And then the theory was, by then saying we'd give the NHS an extra £350 million a week, it would be less shit. That was the way it was done. Now, just after the referendum, when Leave had sort of got a marginal Nat's Cox whisker of a result, not that I'm bitter or anything, but you don't run referendums like that. It's too close to call. But irrelevant. After Leave had won, and after all of the anti-NHS rhetoric, feelings against the NHS were running really, really high. They were very, very negative. It was all very much, the NHS isn't good enough. The NHS is totally not fit for purpose. Now, what I'd like you to do is just juxtaposition that with our recent experiences of everybody standing outside their houses and clapping, including the person who was the main proponent of how shit the NHS was, which is our current Prime Minister. Yep, Boris Johnson led along with his little cottaging pal Dominic Cummings. Nearly swore then, won't do that. Along with his cottaging pal Dominic Cummings, they led the NHS's not fit for purpose, therefore you've got to vote Leave so that we can give it an extra £350 million a year. And when I made this video, I'll put the date of the video along the sort of like the bottom when it was filmed. There was the most appalling comments. There was one from a guy called Jay. I won't mention his real name, but his screen name was Jay Blunt, and a number of other people saying how crap the NHS was, and how they felt like, well, I'll fucking punch that nurse. And well, you'll see from the video anyway. And I think it's interesting now, 4 years on, to actually look at how we, the people, are so easily manipulated to now be in absolute love with the NHS, when then the NHS was reviled as being not fit for purpose. And mark my words, these will change. It started to with Boris just planting that seed that care homes didn't do their job properly, regardless of whether they did or didn't. That's what will stick. That's what will stick in the mind, regardless of the fact that Public Health England made very, very clear their view on how we need to protect care homes and the government ignored it. Anyway, I don't really do politics very well, so I'll just play you now the video that I made 4 years ago, early in the morning, when I was really fucked off with some of the things that I was seeing as comments. Whatever happened to the days when I would class 7 o'clock in the morning as being halfway through the night? Curl up, go back to sleep, get up at the crack of noon. But no, 7 o'clock in the morning and I'm making a headboard for a boat. Well, a headboard for the bed on a boat. Super king size bed as well. And it's not rocket science, it's got 3 Lichtenberg figures and then some just cheap wood cut down, right, and then made to the cold. That's all. And and this morning I'm using this as a metaphor because I'm angry, and I'm angry at a load of posts that I've seen recently slagging off the NHS, and it seems to me that it's becoming a part of a national preoccupation to slag off the NHS. I've got a theory about that, which I'll come to in a minute, but some of these posts were, it's almost like the pack mentality. Someone posts, oh yeah, fucking hell, I could have slapped her. And someone else comes up, yeah, I could easily have punched my doctor. And someone else comes up and say, oh, well, they always chuck me out of the clinic because I fucking swear at them. Well, yeah. Basically, yeah. If you go into an NHS clinic and swear at someone, or if you go into an NHS clinic and punch someone, well, partly you'd obviously be arrested, but as far as I'm concerned, you're a cunt. And I'll tell you why I think you're a cunt. Because you're picking on people who aren't doing their job for the money, believe me. Your average nurse could earn more by sitting on a checkout in Aldi. Think about that for a moment. So next time you go in to an NHS clinic, be polite. Let me tell you what my theory is at the moment, shall I? People in the NHS are starved of cash. They're having to do so much more than they've ever done before and trying to meet completely impossible targets. And if they don't, they're penalised financially. Which of course means making those targets in future even less likely. And the government strategically align this with a very basic principle. If we set unachievable targets, everybody will think the NHS is crap. And if they think it's crap, we can then flog it off to our mates and make a fucking fortune. So if you don't like the NHS, you carry on complaining. And if you post something on fucking Facebook or Twitter, all your mates are joining because they all want to seem like, oh yeah, I fucking punched a nurse, me. And then it's all sold off to Mr. Branson. And the next time you go into casualty with an axe sticking out your fucking head, they'll go, welcome to Virgin Healthcare. Oh, you've got an axe sticking out of your head. Have you thought about taking a selfie on your Virgin mobile phone and sending it to all your fuckwitted mates on Facebook using Virgin Broadband? Oh, by the way, did you come here on a Virgin train or in a Virgin ambulance? Oh, would you like a special discount on a flight to America on Virgin Atlantic so you can see how healthcare really works if you can afford it? And if you've got health insurance. And if you haven't, we'll just give you the basic care and then fuck you off out there. That's all. No elective surgery, no long-term precautionary cover, no long-term checking that tumour isn't going to come back. No. So if you don't like the NHS as it is now, fuck off somewhere else. And the next time you think about being abusive to an NHS member of staff, just imagine what it's like when they go home at the end of the day. I sometimes despair. We have something really, really unique. We have people working in the NHS who are dedicated to working within the NHS. And people have come out with all these fatuous, stupid arguments. Well, the NHS were great before it were all these immigrants coming in. Look around. Look around any hospital. These immigrants run the hospital. These immigrants are the doctors and consultants who are looking after your health. They're the nurses who wipe your arse and check your charts and ensure that you're getting fluids and do all the real work in the NHS. They're the cleaners who stop you getting a secondary infection of MRSA. And why? Because it's next to fucking impossible to get enough white Anglo-Saxon English people, British people, European people, whatever, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what we are anymore? But we can't get them. Can't get them. So we have to import people, and those people do the job very, very well. So don't fucking slag them off. So you carry on doing the government's job for them. You carry on slagging off the NHS. You carry on threatening to punch your doctor. And then when it's gone, don't post on Facebook, oh, do you remember the NHS? It was so good then. If it's so good then, it's so good now. Get behind the NHS. Don't complain, campaign! Oh, God, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. Fucking 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm having a rant. I'm so angry. I'm just so angry that we have this wonderful thing called the NHS and people are complicit in its destruction.